Phillies are headed to the World Series where they'll meet the Houston Astros. Can they win this matchup? And if so, how can they do it? This episode of the Philly Sports Spot YouTube channel starts right now. Everybody, and welcome into this edition of the Philly Sports Spot YouTube channel. I am your host, Jordan Hirsch. And now, guys, before we get into this video, please make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on so you never miss another upload. You can also follow me on Instagram. The link will be in the description below. Phillies are back in the World Series for the first time since 2009, where they will meet the Houston Astros, who are undefeated in the playoffs. In fact, their last loss was the Phillies' clinching game to get into the playoffs, where Aaron Nola twirled a 6 2/3 gem, taking a perfect game into the 7th inning there, and he will get the ball in Game 1 opposite Justin Verlander, just recently announced. And so let's take a quick look back on how the Phillies got here. They beat the Padres in 5 games in the NLCS, coming up with a couple of coming up with 2 home runs in Game 1 of that series to win it 2-0. Of course, Bryce Harper's, which just got over the wall, and then Kyle Schwarber's, which I'm pretty sure is still traveling. Phillies then lost Game 2, 8-5. Phillies got out to a 4-0 lead in that game. However, Aaron Nola could not hold it. That's really been his only bump in the road in these playoffs, as he did allow 6 runs in that game. Of course, a big 5th inning there for San Diego as they win 8-5. The series then shifted back to Philly on Friday, where the Phillies wrote some clutch hitting and some excellent bullpen work to win it 4-2. Gene Segura, with a roller coaster night in Game 3, ends up coming up with a big 2-run single in the 4th inning, very similar to his big 2-run single in the first game of the playoffs up in St. Louis in the 9th. This one, he loops over Jake Cronenworth's head and into right. 2 runs come in to score. Phillies took a 3-1 lead. They're going to win 4-2. Then the slugfest came out in Game 4. Phillies win it 10-6. They had 4 home runs in that game. This time, the Padres get out to that early 4-0 lead, but the Phillies able to claw their way back in. Bailey Falter lasts just 2/3 of an inning, while Mike Clevenger does not record an out, so neither starter gets out of the first inning and record a combined 2 outs. Phillies win 10-6. So, of course, like I said, 4 big home runs in that game. Rhys Hoskins with 2, Kyle Schwarber with 1, and JT with 1 to add on there at the end. So at that point, everyone's feeling good. It is a 3-1 Phillies lead. They have a commanding lead in that series. And then Sunday, in Game 5 against the Padres, Phillies get out to that 2-0 lead on a big long Rhys Hoskins home run to give that Phillies that 2-0 lead. Juan Soto with an answer right back, making it 2-1. Then the rains came, and that really proved costly for Sir Anthony Dominguez and the Phillies, as he uncorks 3 wild pitches in the 7th inning alone. 2 of them, of course, allowing Jose Azocar to reach third and then score what would be the go-ahead run, 3-2 Padres at that time. And then the bottom of the 8th. While in the dugout, Bryce Harper said to Rob Thompson, "Let's give these fans something to remember," to which Kevin Long responded, "Do something cool." JT Realmuto grinds out an at-bat and gets a leadoff single in that inning, and then up comes Bryce Harper, and on the 7th pitch of the at-bat, Bryce Harper with the opposite field home run, as Joe Davis called it, the biggest swing of his life and probably a top 5 moment all time in Phillies history. Gives the Phillies the 4-3 lead. It then does get shaky in the 9th, as David Robertson allows 2 runners to reach. So second and first, 1 out, and Rob Thompson elects to go to Ranger Suarez out of the bullpen. Trent Grisham is his first matchup, and Grisham decides to try to lay down a bunt. It ends up going right back to Suarez, and of course Ranger, so good at fielding his position, calmly makes a throw to first. So both runners advance, now second and third with 2 outs, and Austin Nola comes up to the plate, and it only takes 1 pitch as he loops one towards right. Nick Castellanos makes the catch, and the Phillies celebrate. Dancing on My Own is played. Phillies win the series 4-1 and advance to the World Series for the first time since 2009. They will play the Houston Astros, who, like I said before, are undefeated in the playoffs. They are the third team in the wild card era to go undefeated up to the World Series. The other two teams that did it were the 2007 Colorado Rockies, who lost the World Series, and the 2014 Kansas City Royals, who also lost the World Series. So the Phillies are definitely going to have a tough test ahead of them if they want to keep those teams, make those teams go 0-3, teams that sweep their way to the World Series. And Game 1 starter Aaron Nola could be the guy to do just that. He twirled a gem the last time these two teams faced. Earlier this month, in fact, back on October 3rd, Phillies won that game 3-0 and clinched a playoff spot. Aaron Nola, those 6 2/3 perfect innings broken up by Yordan Alvarez single. The bullpen was able to lock it down there at the end. Astros would then end up taking the next two games of that series where the Phillies really didn't have their starters in any of those games, and of course it was the hangover game in the second game of that series where the Astros took a no-hitter into the 9th inning. It is worth noting that Justin Verlander did start that game. Verlander is going to start Game 1. The Astros have not announced who Game 2 starter will be. I think most people are going to assume that it's going to be Framber Valdez, and then we'll probably see after that, assuming it's Valdez in Game 2. Against the Yankees, they went with Christian Javier in Game 3 and Lance McCullers in Game 4. However, there are some people that think that Game 3 starter could be Lance McCullers when the series shifts back to Philly. And I think the biggest thing for the Phillies in this series is you have to take one of two in Houston. I've been saying it all week. You have to take one of two in Houston. Get this series tied and back to Philly into this crowd. The Phillies have yet to lose at home this postseason. They went completely undefeated at home in 2008, of course, when they won the World Series. And I feel like that if they come back already down 2-0, it almost takes the crowd out of it before the game even begins. And the Phillies are going to need, I think, every person in that crowd to be as loud as they possibly can against a team that is, at least on paper, better than them. I've been seeing it all over, of course, the media. A lot of people picking the Astros. MLB.com released their Writers' World Series picks. 58 out of 75 going with the Astros. Just 17 going with the Phillies. So the Phillies, again, certainly the underdogs. We expected that. They only have 87 wins. Astros finished the season with 106 wins. So the Phillies definitely are going to have their hands full. But I do think that they can win this series. And honestly, this is a series that I think could end at any point. I could see the Phillies sweeping it, and I could see the Astros sweeping it, and I could see everything in between. I think this is going to be a little more evenly matched than people may think. I think Aaron Nola going Game 1 could be big for the Phillies, and Zach Wheeler getting the extra day of rest going Game 2. When I first saw that, I thought, but then I looked at the numbers, and Zach Wheeler actually, in 18 starts this season with at least one extra day of rest, has an ERA of 2.02. And when he's going on normal rest, which is what he would have been if he pitched in Game 1, he had an ERA that climbed all the way up to 3.66. Aaron Nola is also going to be working off a 9 days rest. I think 10 days is a lot of rest to give a guy in between starts, so I'm okay with Aaron Nola going Game 1 and Wheeler going Game 2. It has not been announced yet, but presumably Ranger Suarez is going to go Game 3. And then we'll see what they do Game 4. I mean, Rob Thompson has been very reluctant to go with a 4-man rotation, or with a 3-man rotation, I should say. But sometimes, depending on the series, he might have to. I think at this point, the plan is probably for Noah Syndergaard to start that game, maybe go 2 or 3 innings like he did against Atlanta in the NLDS. But I think it's really all going to depend on where the series is at that point. Let's get into breaking down this matchup a little bit more. I'm going to take this position by position, starting with the starting pitching, where I think Houston does have an edge. I don't think it's a major edge. However, when you do have the Cy Young Award winner on your team in Justin Verlander, I do think that will give Houston an edge in the starting pitch. And same thing with relievers. It is worth noting again that Houston does not have a left-handed pitcher coming out of their bullpen. But I do think the Astros bullpen has been fantastic. They have been the best bullpen in these playoffs. It has not really been close, and the Phillies bullpen, of course, has stepped it up. The Astros just a little bit more experience, and I think a little bit more nastiness coming out of that pen there. Phillies might have the better back-end guys, but I think the Astros overall have the better bullpen. Time to take it now to the position, starting with the designated hitter. That would be Trey Mancini for the Astros and Bryce Harper for the Phillies. It's obvious that Bryce Harper, I think, is better there. So I'll give the Phillies the edge at DH because of our NLCS MVP. Over to first base now. It's between Yuli Gurriel and Rhys Hoskins. Both guys have been equally as hot in the playoffs. However, I think Yuli Gurriel is the better player. He's more proven. Rhys Hoskins, of course, tends to go through these peaks and valleys, and let's hope he is going through a peak right now. But I will give Yuli Gurriel the edge there at first base. Moving over to second, Jose Altuve going up against Gene Segura. I think Altuve is just all around the better player. Maybe not necessarily in this postseason, as he has struggled, but I will give Altuve the edge there. Over to shortstop between Jeremy Pena and Bryson Stott, a couple of young guys. I think defensively, you got to give it to Stott. However, offensively, I will say Jeremy Pena has been the better player. He's got 3 home runs and 2 clutch home runs in these playoffs. Of course, the 18th inning home run in the NLDS against Seattle. And then the 3-run home run in New York in their clinching game in Game 4. So I'll give Jeremy Pena a very slight edge over Bryson Stott, who also has come up with some clutch hits in these playoffs as well. Moving over to third base, Aaron Nola's college roommate Alex Bregman against Alec Boehm. Again, I think Bregman will get the edge here. Alex Bregman has been very consistent in these playoffs, hitting a solid .333. So I will give Bregman the edge over Boehm. There, Alec Boehm has been struggling, especially in the NLCS, and hopefully he could turn that around. Moving to the outfield, over to right field, so that will be Kyle Tucker and Nick Castellanos. I'm going to give this one to the Astros yet again, and Kyle Tucker. I do think that Kyle Tucker, I mean, he's having a heck of a postseason. Nick Castellanos, of course, has struggled at times this season. I don't think the gap between these two players is as big as many people may think. However, Kyle Tucker did hit 30 home runs this season, so I'm going to give him the edge there. Moving into center field, where it'll be Chas McCormick going up against Brandon Marsh for the most part, and then Matt Vierling probably when Framber Valdez takes the mound. This, again, I think is a lot closer than people think. I'm going to give Chas McCormick the slight edge. Brandon Marsh has really been struggling, so I think Chas McCormick gets him there. And then over into left field, where it is Yordan Alvarez against Kyle Schwarber. In the playoffs, I think Kyle Schwarber certainly has the edge, and in terms of playoff experience, I'll give it, I mean, they're kind of equally matched. Both of them have been to the World Series. But I'll go Yordan Alvarez. Of course, he had 37 home runs, 97 RBIs, and that's with missing a good chunk of the season, too. So I'll give it to Yordan Alvarez there. So the Phillies are certainly going to have their hands full against this Astros team. However, baseball, like I said in a previous video, the MLB playoffs are wacky. Sometimes the best team does not always win. We've seen that really the last couple of at least full seasons, where the Houston Astros were in the World Series in 2019 and lost to the underdog Washington Nationals. Nationals, of course, with a pretty similar story to the Phillies, starting out poorly and then turning their season around. And then they lost in 6 games last season to the Atlanta Braves, who only won 88 games during the regular season. So sometimes the playoffs are about getting hot at the right time. Both of these two teams have been extremely hot. Of course, the Astros undefeated. The Phillies in the playoffs are 9-2, so nothing to slouch out there. And I think that this is going to be a very competitive series, and I think that it goes 7 games, and I think the Phillies do find a way to win this series against the Astros. I think that they can definitely get 1 of 2 in Houston, and if they can do that and get, I'm just going to keep saying it, you have to get 1 of 2 in Houston and get the series back to Philly tied. Again, Phillies have not lost at home this postseason, and if they can get the series back here tied, take 2 of 3 here, well, now you're up 3-2, and you have 2 chances then to close it out back in Houston. I think the Phillies, that is a formula they can take on and they can complete. So I will say the Phillies win this series in 7 nerve-wracking games. Now to this World Series schedule. It will start tomorrow at 8:03 on Fox. Every game will be at 8:03 and every game is on Fox. So game 1 tomorrow, Friday, October 28th. Game 2 will be Saturday. The Phillies will then be off Sunday. And then game 3 will be on Tuesday, or on Monday, Halloween night in Philly, game 3. Game 4 then on Tuesday, November 1st. So no matter what happens, there will be baseball in November in the city of Philadelphia. And then the if necessary games 5, 6, and 7. Game 5 would be Wednesday. So again, this is a 2-3-2 format. It's not like the NBA and the NHL, which is 2-2-1-1-1. So 2-3-2. They would then be off Thursday. And then Friday would be game 6 back in Houston. And Saturday, November 5th, would be game 7, again, back in Houston. Alright, that is going to wrap things up for this edition of the Philly Sports Spot YouTube channel. Again, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on so you never miss another upload. My upload schedule has been all over the place recently. I typically post every Saturday. However, really make sure you have those notifications turned on so you do not miss the next time that I upload. You could also follow me on Instagram. The link will be down in the description below, or you could just look me up. It's at Philly Sports Spot. That's PhillysSportSpot. So just one S between sport and spot. Until next time, guys, you know it. Let's go win the World Series. Let's go, Phils.